This is Grace.
And I am Nomad.
And we just finished hiking the CDT through the Bob Marshall Wilderness northbound from Benchmark to Marias Pass, starting on August 13th, 2022, and finishing a whopping 8.5 days later on August 21st. And I want to address the length of that right away. It is on the standard route 127 miles. And we were able to do this length primarily, at a pace that was very comfortable to us because we got a resupply in the middle. That is, from what I gather, really unusual to be able to get a resupply, but it made it doable for us and therefore safe. And I just put that out there as something to consider for those who are not able to do more than 20 miles a day in order to get through the Bob Marshall, say, in 6 days, 5 or 6 days. A lot of people take the Spotted Bear alternate route. We planned to do the standard route in entirety, but our resupply was exactly halfway through at Lake LaVale, and around that time we learned from our outfitter, Dusty, with 7 Lazy P Ranch, who just was a godsend because he carried in our resupply bag, that ahead of us around Sun River Pass, on 4 miles on either side of that pass, a total of about 4 miles, the severe blowdowns had not been cleared yet. So from Lake LaVale, we marched just about 1.5 miles, less than 2 miles, north on the trail, took a connector trail up to Switchback Pass on Spotted Bear alternate in order to avoid the blowdown that was ahead of us, and then proceeded on Spotted Bear to rejoin the CDT north of that point and continue on to Marias Pass. So we got some terrific comparisons really between the standard route and Spotted Bear, and we loved both of them. We had wonderful views, especially from Switchback Pass, which is a favorite point, as well as high views, as well as lower in the river and creek valleys and gorgeous forests. It was spectacular.
Yeah, and to have Lake LaVale kind of in the middle of the whole route is very convenient and not to be missed, and it's a side trip of just a few hundred yards, and it's a wonderful lake that is very comfortable to swim in and stay there for a while, and also to fish. So I would recommend that. And we're walking out of there on this little heading up the Switchback on a little side trail was very comfortable. It was about 1,000-foot climb, but a very comfortably designed trail. There were a couple of blowdowns that were just a matter of a step over, nothing to impede you. And so comfortable traveling up there, and I'd have to say in terms of scenery and comfortable traveling, the Switchback is just remarkable. Beautiful setting, very comfortable trail, and in what you expect, dry, hot area as far as the Switchback, and yes, you're exposed, but halfway down is this tremendous waterfall you can sit under if you want to.
Yeah.
So, and then from that you drop into a deep forest. So it is, they say, a very scenic area and one of the most pleasant hiking experiences I think we had.
Yes, absolutely. The Bob Marshall is iconic hiking, and a lot of people, frankly, have some trepidations about diving in to do something that's over 100 miles without a resupply. We were really glad we could figure out a resupply that worked for the outfitter. We matched his schedule, not the other way around. We found out when Dusty would be going in, and we built our Bob Marshall section hike around that specifically, meeting him on August 17th at Lake LaVale. So be aware that if you're so fortunate as to get a resupply, which I think a lot of people would be interested in, you might be working your schedule around that individual's schedule of when he was coming in on horseback with his clients. The other thing that was really critical to preparing for the Bob Marshall section was checking trail conditions. I marvel at how few people, well, excuse me, I don't know if it's few, but that some hikers don't do that is amazing to me. The Bob Marshall can be notorious for blowdowns. We specifically, bad blowdowns. So we specifically set this trip up to be in August in order to give the trail crews a chance to be out there. You can get the trail conditions in a wonderful interactive map. The Bob Marshall Wilderness Foundation website has an interactive map that will show you the trail conditions, as in which ones have been cleared and which have conditions that are unknown. Be aware that sometimes when it says it's been cleared, it may not have been cleared in entirety, but at least the trail crew has been out there. And twice we were caught by surprise that the trail that had said it, where the conditions had been indicated as cleared, was not completely cleared. And some of those blowdowns are gnarly to haul yourself over. The two that, when we were out there, were serious were the 4 miles around Sun River Pass. The trail crew was getting there on August 17 and 18 of this summer, 2022. And still in bad shape were the miles on the standard route just south of Marias Pass, 4 or 5 miles of very, very bad blowdowns. I don't care what condition you are in, you're not going over those quickly. And the trail crew won't have those cleared until the end of this month, is the prediction. So most people, if not all, that are aware of that blowdown are on Trail 101, northbound or southbound, out of Marias Pass. Take 101 and stay on it. You'll have a lot of creek crossings that are very mild right now. Most people don't take off their boots because there's so many of them. And finally, the last thing I would say about being prepared to go is you're in a wilderness area that is, if not the largest, it's first or second largest in the lower 48 states. This is a very wild area. Things happen like fires, and it's a wilderness. They're going to let it go. They're going to let that wildfire go. But they might have to close a trail. It would be wise to have someone at home watching InsaWeb, which has a link off of the Continental Divide Trail Foundation's website, or you can just InsaWeb.com, INCIWEB, to see where the fires are and check if there are any closures, and get you a message through your Garmin. If you've got an inReach, they can get a message to you. So those are some preparations that we kept in mind for this exceptionally long section.
And it's good to keep in mind too that yes, when you get an opening and you're able to look ahead of you and you see, the whole sides of ranges have been burned off. Fortunately, that in much of that area you will be traveling closer to the creek side, which is still forested. Okay, so as bleak as some areas might look, they're not actually that way along the trail. And two, throughout that area, water never seemed to be a problem. It's readily available quite frequently.
Yeah, we did not have a problem walking to water or usually camping by water. And I think the highlights of this were, frankly, the views at Switchback Pass, and other views I've heard are particularly gorgeous along the Spotted Bear Alternate, which is 15 miles shorter than the standard route to the Bob Marshall, and that means something to a lot of people. But I really enjoyed the deep, deep, dark forests, because there are some gorgeous forests that haven't been touched by fire in generations, and walking through those along creeks was spectacular, just spectacular. Anything else to add about
that? I think the highlights are find out as much information as you can about the trail conditions, and that information is available, and that makes it a very passable trip. People are sometimes concerned about the number of water crossings. most are just a little bit more than ankle deep, okay? And yes, you probably don't want to be taking your boots on and off because they'll be 4 or 5 or 6 in a row, 100 yards apart. And so that's a consideration, but they are comfortable.
Yeah, and that's my brother's referring to that Trail 101 just before, or just south of Marias Pass, just before Marias Pass as we were going northbound. We did run into 2 hikers, not CDT hikers, but who were turning back to Benchmark, and they looked highly discouraged, and the reason was they had gotten out there less than prepared to know how their packs would feel carrying that much weight, because they were trying to do the whole thing without a resupply. So anybody who's been on the CDT south of this, certainly the thru hikers, you know what you can carry and how long you can carry it. You know your pace for the day. So it's probably not as much of a concern for the experienced CDT hikers, but just heads up, this is a really long section. Do above average planning and preparing to get through this safely. Know that even on a cleared trail, there still might be some blowdown, so you might not be doing 30 miles. We never would have done 30 miles. But I know that there are 30-mile-a-day hikers out there, or certainly in excess of 20 miles. Just be aware, very careful of what you can do, because if you get into trouble, it's going to be hellacious to get you out of there. So go in prepared. And it's just gorgeous. And I hope these warnings don't deter anybody. We just want you to be safe out there.
Yeah. And just a point, I mean, our pace is slower than many, we realize that. However, what we found as far as dealing with the heat, because there was some very hot days, is we would have a lunch about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then just rest for an hour and a half. And somewhere around 3, get back on the trail. By that time, sometimes you have nice little clouds beginning to shade you a little bit. You pick up a breeze later on. And in doing that, it was still very comfortable to knock off 15 miles. So this is, again, depending on your ability and your pace and things like that, and what you want to, how much time you want to spend just seeing things and taking time to swim in some great lakes, then that's quite doable.
We realize ours is not the typical pace of a thru hiker. We were dealing with temperatures in the upper 80s. It was 87, 88 degrees most of the time we were out there. And that, if you're going through an area that's had a fire in it, so you have no cover, it was a factor. So, taking that kind of a break might sound shocking to some of you, but we were able to get through feeling just fine. By the time we finished, we felt fine, and we got through safely and enjoyed our trip. So, be safe, enjoy the experience of the Bob. It's a remarkable and unique place. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.